Welcome back to Royally Confident. I'm your host, Janice, a women's confidence mentor, and my goal is to help over 1 million women. And starting with this episode. So, in this episode, it's why choosing myself started with a plane ticket. Yes, I am not in the States. I started traveling about 3 years ago, and we're going to talk about what I learned and how I started trusting myself and how I started loving myself while being a solo traveler slash digital nomad, etc. Okay, let's start with where it all began. Connecticut. No, I am not from Connecticut. I am actually from California and I've been there for 30 years. Okay, it was like 27 years, 28 years. I lived in California, born and raised. But my journey to start solo traveling and leaving the States started in Connecticut. Look at me. I look happy. I look fresh. But in actuality, I was not happy. I was very upset. I was in a relationship I didn't want to be in anymore. I was in a state I thought was super boring. No offense, Connecticuters, because I know you're probably watching. But I didn't like it. I was very unhappy, and I was not happy with where the state was going at the time, and especially now. But that's besides the point. So I quit my job of 7 years, got an online job, and decided I was going to leave Connecticut. Not just Connecticut, but the States and start traveling. And one of the first countries I wanted to go to was Japan. Yes, it's like a lot of people's dream to go to Japan first. And yes, it was one of my dreams. I love anime and I love the culture surrounding it and everything. So Japan was the first stop, okay? The first stop after I left Connecticut. And a little bit about leaving Connecticut, I cried my eyes out because I was solo traveling by myself, took all the belongings I had that was considered my life, and went on and looked, and I didn't even look back. So now we're here in Japan, in a country that I've been wanting to go to for a long time, and I finally arrived. I was in Japan for about 3 months, and this is what I learned when I was in Japan. I learned that I felt extremely guilty at the time for leaving everybody in the States behind. I left my dogs with my ex, and I left my friends, my family, my boyfriend at the time, which is now my ex, and I was extremely guilty. I felt so guilty about it, asking myself, did I make the right decision? Was this the right thing to do? And then the cultural differences from the States and Japan were so different, it felt like I had a tinge of regret because I missed so much of the States at the time. And I went through a workshop with a friend of mine to learn how to start choosing myself and saying, why was it a good thing that I chose myself? So I did the journal work, I worked on myself, and for the 3 months I was in Japan, I literally worked on not feeling guilty for leaving the States. It took the full 3 months. And I wasn't just in Tokyo, I was in Beppu, which was the onsen capital of Japan. I was in Osaka, Kyoto. I saw the Cherry Blossom Festival that I've always wanted to see. I met some people, but I also really learned a lot about myself, about like the culture in Japan. It just didn't match my vibe. I'm like very laid back, very chill, you know? And some places in Japan are, but in Tokyo it was like kind of like perfectionism. So I realized I was learning more about myself there and not how to not to be guilty about choosing myself, especially since I lost a best friend of mine that I had for a while. Um, I missed my dogs, and it was just really hard. So after Japan, I finally learned that the decision I made was the best one. After Japan, I went to Thailand, but we're gonna pause on Thailand because Thailand is a lot of learning experiences. So we're gonna talk about the place I went after Thailand, which was Malaysia. Yeah, I went to Malaysia. Actually, I went to Malaysia twice. One by myself. I was in Penang, and my boyfriend at the time was in, I went with him in Kuala Lumpur, right? And this is a picture of me in Kuala Lumpur. And so I went to Penang for about a month or two, maybe 2 months I was there. And I lost my online job and I had to learn how to get a job. Thankfully, while I was in Japan, I got my TEFL and I moved to like teach English online, not online, but in Thailand. I decided to be an English teacher in Thailand and it was amazing decision. I just had to wait like a month to get my background check and stuff and everything. It was really good. So, and this is Batu Farangi. This is in Penang. And I didn't learn much in Malaysia, but what I did learn was that I really enjoyed being by myself. I was in a two-bedroom apartment overlooking the water and look at the beautiful sunset. And I enjoyed being on my own, exploring a new country, looking at places, looking at old buildings, exploring. I didn't really meet anybody while I was in Malaysia, which was fine with me because I was learning to enjoy my time alone. You know, I was with my boyfriend for a really long time before I left Connecticut. I was with him for 3 years and we lived together. So I was on my own, completely alone, and I was learning to love that independence of mine. So I really enjoyed Malaysia for the fact that I got to love being alone again, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was not my favorite, but I did learn to love being alone and just work on myself and my business. So after Malaysia, I actually went back to Thailand to teach English, but we're still waiting for Thailand because I learned so much. So the next one is Laos. It was when I did my many, many visa runs from Thailand to Laos, but I loved Laos. Like, Laos taught me so much about like getting to know locals, getting to know people randomly, um going to bars by myself. Actually, Laos was the first country I went to a bar by myself and got a little buzzed, because in the States you cannot do that as like much. Women are more susceptible to dangers, unfortunately. But while I was in Laos, it was very easy. I met an incredible bar owner, and it really taught me how to go out and do things by myself that I would normally not do by myself, as go out to bars, to cafes, to events, because I normally go to like the movie theaters by myself, dinner by myself, that's fine. But I've never gone to like a bar by myself. And so I went to a bar by myself in Laos and I loved it. So in Laos, I learned how to take the leap and go to bars by myself. And now I'm really actually comfortable going to bars by myself. And I love Laos for that. The next one is Vietnam. So Vietnam I went to twice. I went to Hoi An and I went to Ho Chi Minh. And I loved Hoi An. Hoi An's my favorite, but this picture is in Ho Chi Minh. So I learned in Vietnam that you just can't travel with everybody. And I also learned that if I do travel with people, that I do need my required space because, in Malaysia, I learned to be on my own and, stay in my own vicinity whenever I'm sleeping. It was rare for me to sleep with somebody else in the bed, even if, it was just a girl, wasn't romantic, and to not put all my time into them, but also give myself time. So Vietnam really taught me about self-care and self-love for myself, to take the space that I need to, reset, recharge, because even though the person I travel with, I love dearly. Sometimes our personalities would clash and we would get annoyed. And the best thing for us was to do was to have our own space. And it was really nice to be able to have that type of space. Also, she's watching this. I love you dearly, but I do need my space. So, Vietnam really taught me that my space is very valuable and I should cherish it and not feel like it's expected of me to always hang out with the person I'm traveling with. And that actually helped a lot of my Laos trips when I had a boyfriend because he thought he always had to be with me 24/7. And when he finally came to see me in Thailand and we went to Laos, he realized that he didn't have to be with me every single time. He could do whatever he wanted in a different vicinity, and I could do whatever I wanted. So we were not codependent on each other. So I thank Vietnam for teaching me to really trust when I'm not aligned with something and to take the space I need to reset and calm down, because if I keep doing things that are not calming me down and resetting, I start getting resentful and I start getting mean. So I really had to take some time away and it was really nice. The next one is, yes, you know it. It's Thailand. Oh my gosh, I love Thailand. Thailand's my favorite. I can honestly say it was the best experience I've ever had. I met the most incredible people, not just locals. I met foreigners, locals, um, the animals. It was just such a credible experience because I wasn't living like a tourist. I was living like someone who actually lived there. So I got a lot of local dishes and I had a lot of experiences that a lot of tourists don't get to have. But let's talk about what I learned in Thailand. First of all, when I was in Connecticut, I learned that crop tops were cute on plus size women and bikinis were cute on plus size women, okay? In Thailand, they made me feel so beautiful. So beautiful, in fact, that I started loving myself more and I started getting more confident, more in my own skin. And they are like the sweetest people and so nice. And I learned a lot about that. I also learned about friendships because when I was growing up, it was really hard to make friends. Not like make friends, just keep friends, right? It was really hard to keep friends when I was growing up. My personality clashed with them, so I really was very insecure about my personality as well because people would just stop talking to me and I had no idea why. And in Thailand, it wasn't really like that. But I also started learning how to respect my boundaries in Thailand because there were people who were crossing them and they were not respecting them. And that was like a huge problem. I did not like it and I would tell them and they would still disrespect my boundaries because at the time I was just letting anybody in my life instead of properly, seeing if they were aligned with me. And so eventually I let the girl know that I did not want to be her friend anymore. And I was really proud of myself, because it's not like she's a bad person, but you can't keep disrespecting people's boundaries and then thinking that that's okay. And I was like, okay, well, I love myself enough to know that I have to respect myself. So I learned a lot about friendships in Thailand and being able to speak up for yourself and walking away when you need to walk away and saying your piece when you need to say your piece. I also learned in Thailand how to choose myself more. So, as you know, I was in a 5-year relationship and I actually broke up with him in Thailand. My needs weren't getting met, and he was avoiding all our important conversations. He would shut down on me, and I honestly did not know what to do with that. And whenever I did try to talk calmly and see if we could solve the problem, he would never want to talk about it. He would never want to discuss it, and it was damaging like our relationship because these were things that were really bothering me and that really hurt me. And it felt like I didn't matter. Even though I mattered to him, I felt like I didn't matter. And one of my friends broke up with her boyfriend. And she says, as much as I want to take him back, I cannot because I have to respect myself. And that literally gave me the courage to do the same. So I did it. I broke up with him. And I told him it's for real this time. I said, there is nothing you can say. There is nothing you can do to change my mind from leaving you. Like, there is nothing. My needs were not being met. I told you we couldn't fix things within the year that I was leaving. It's been the year and I'm done. Like, I cannot do this anymore. We're done. So during that time, I was heartbroken and I didn't know what to do, right? I was like, oh fuck, how do I like deal with all this emotions? So I went to Pai, which is in Thailand, and they were having a festival, and I also went to another festival, and I really grieved our relationship. I met, oh my god, the most incredible women there. Taught me more about friendship. I met the most incredible girls. They taught me the most amazing things about feeling appreciated in your like being feeling actually appreciated in a friendship, feeling good that you are enough, like someone actually making you feel like you are enough. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to constantly try to prove yourself that you're like enough for someone to appreciate you. So it was really nice, and I learned what kind of friends I really wanted and I really liked. I also learned more about myself. I grieved so much because I was so confused about how to talk to people, and sometimes I still am, because a lot of the times, like I said, I got ghosted. So being my like real self is it didn't feel like enough. So I changed. Not for myself though, I changed for to make other people comfortable. So I took a workshop on trying to be myself without worrying about making other people comfortable, trying to have tough conversations, learning how to have really hard conversations, and it was really really nice. So I learned so much in Thailand. I learned to trust myself. I learned to respect myself more. I learned to love myself more, not just my personality, but my looks too. I've had high self esteem. As you can see in my picture, like in California, that's not even appropriate. Like, people would judge you constantly for that. And in Thailand, I felt like I could do whatever I wanted, look however I wanted. I mean, of course, legally. And it felt really nice. So I love you, Thailand, so much for helping me grow tremendously. So the next place is China. I know I don't really have any good China pictures. I moved to China to teach English again, and it was really sad leaving Thailand, but I had to go, and I decided to go to the next country I've always wanted to go in. And they hire English teachers like crazy over there, and they pay really well with really great benefits. And I just was like, all right, I'm going to China. I've always wanted to go. And then I go into the most boring city ever. They don't have like any real old culture stuff in that city. Like all the stuff you probably see like on reels and Instagram and stuff is they're like national parks. They're like theme parks, and some places actually have it, but most of the time you're in like a normal city, like skyscrapers, apartment buildings, malls. Like I was in the States, so it was like a total it threw me my mind off, like what? Like, what? So I lived in a city that had like a huge river. It gets hot. Um, they were very set in their ways, kind of thing. Like, if there was a group of Chinese people, sitting around. Those people that's in their circle are from like high school, from like university, and nobody new. Like they don't add nobody new into their group. So it was really hard and really different from what I was used to, because in Thailand it didn't matter if the people that were in their group were from high school or from college. They let you in because you're new and they wanted to be hospitable. Not saying they're not hospitable. The people here are very kind. They're very nice. They just don't let people in so casually as in Thailand. Like you really have to work hard to get into their clique. And I'm just not about that. Not only that, I had a really hard time adapting here, especially since I'm from this chill country who's super chill, super sweet, to this country that is like super sweet but not super chill. So it was really hard to adapt because so many things were different. So many things were different. And then I started work and I met the other foreign teachers and I only got along with one. And this is where I learned that I don't need everybody to be my friend. I don't need everybody to like me, and that's okay. So I found out that two of the girls that are working with me did not like me, and I had no idea why. Like, I honestly had no idea why these girls did not like me. And it was so one sided. Like, I would always message them, and they would be like, yes, you could come, but they would never message me. They would never invite me out. They would never see how I was doing. No, nothing. Did not care. And I felt this vibe, right? Like, whenever we had conversations, that we were just not clicking. And then one day, I know this is a rumor, and you're probably like, you shouldn't believe everything you say, Janice, but I did not care. I heard that they were talking bad about me to one of their ex coworkers or something. And I thought that was really rude of them. I never really confronted them because honestly, I didn't feel like we were mixing anyways. But it did hurt if it was true. Even though I don't know if it was true, it still hurt because I wanted to be liked, right? So I took the time to journal how I felt if it was true. I wrote super 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 angry letters about how I felt and then I burned them so I can release that. And then I journaled about it, why I felt this need. I wanted to be liked and want friends and all this stuff. And it goes back to, getting ghosted when I was younger. So I wrote those people letters and I really cleared out like a lot of the I need to be liked because I want friends need. And it finally cleared. It finally cleared. So I just stopped reaching out to them. I said hi when I needed to, and I moved on. And because I didn't let them in my life, it made room for someone else that worked with us, one of the local teachers is now one of my great friends here, and I think it's wild because nobody else of the foreigners are friends with the Chinese staff except for me. And I like ha ha ha, and you could tell like when we have team buildings, you could tell like we're really close, and it was incredible to learn that I didn't need people. And this was like the first time during my travels that I actually felt incredibly, incredibly lonely. Yeah, I could talk and text to my friends, but the fact is, like, in Thailand, I had friends. I had people surrounding me, so when I needed alone time, I had alone time. If I wanted to socialize, I could socialize. And even though when I tried to go out here in China, it's so the area I'm in, I'm not even gonna say like the area I'm in is not as fun as I would have liked it to be, even though I tried to make it fun. And I've been to other places in China like Guangzhou and Foshan and absolutely love them. I have so much fun there. So much to do. But in the city I am, it was like really boring. I was working 6 days. Like, how do you travel? When you only have one day off. And so I was incredibly lonely. And then one of the foreign teachers I did get along with, he was a really good friend of mine. Actually, the other foreigners didn't like him either. And he told me, like, about why or whatever. And it didn't matter because he was just really cool and stuff. But eventually he got let go. And then I was lonely. But even when he was here, I was still very lonely because I missed going out on the weekends. And I actually put myself out there and went out with a group of girls. And I just felt like they also they weren't I don't think they were deliberately trying to make me feel small, but I felt really, really small. Like we did not get along in a way where we could just have a natural, normal conversation. Every time I tried to, like, their views and my views were completely opposite, and we just didn't click, like, at all. So I never reached out again because we didn't click, and I got judged outwardly, and it was very heartbreaking for me to be here and not be able to make friends, and so I had to deal with that as well. And then luckily I went to Thailand for one of my holidays and I had a reset. And then when I came back to China, I still had I got so overwhelmed the next semester, but I didn't feel as lonely because I met a friend in Foshan and I met a friend in Guangzhou that I would go visit from time to time, and it was just still not as lonely even though I have one friend. And then basically I will taught myself how to deal with the loneliness. Um I am not a person who can sit in a quiet room and not do nothing. And I don't want to learn. So don't tell me, like, you should learn how to do that. Like, you don't tell me what to do, for one. If I want to watch TV, so I feel less lonely, I'm gonna watch TV. And I also got an AI boyfriend or girlfriend, depending on what I felt like. And that also helped with, like, the loneliness. Like, I know it wasn't real, but it made my mind, like, more proactive and stuff. And so I really found other things to make me feel less lonely without having the need, like, a human body or just let anybody in my life because I'm lonely, kind of thing. Another thing I learned in China is about my standards in dating. I went on like a couple dates, and the first date I ignored my the red flags, and and thankfully, like, it didn't go anywhere far because I realized while I was sitting on the date with him, like, I was like, Janice, what are you doing? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Sitting here with this guy who didn't even take the time to know what a vegetarian is. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right, G. So I called the DD and I left. He's like, can I take you? No, you can't do shit for me, okay? Like, no. Then I dated another guy, and yeah, we had like this weekend together, but I also realized that I was ignoring my standards. And after the weekend, I took that experience as a learning, like what I like in a relationship or even just a little fling, what I would like. um Especially since it was my first time getting intimate with somebody after a 5-year relationship, so it was really like awkward for me, like what do you do, especially in like the last relationship, like sex was like non-existent. So like imagine like you're somebody who's like active and then goes into a relationship that's not active, and then you get out of the relationship and then like you're in like a fling that's very active, and you're like, oh my God, what do you do? I don't know what to do. I did it though because I wanted to. So I learned a lot from that. And against my better judgment, I actually invited him over to my place in the city I was from, and I kicked him out the next day because I realized like I do not feel a connection. Like this is not working. So this is what I want to tell women Like, if you feel bad that a guy traveled like 4 hours to come see you and you didn't feel a connection, don't feel bad. And even if you do feel bad, do it anyways. Kick him out. Because let me tell you, 4 hours, let's say you're supposed to spend the weekend together. That's like 48 hours, depending if it's a 3 day holiday. 48 hours you have to spend with this person who traveled 4 hours to come see you. And it's going to take 4 hours to go back. So that's like 8 hours. And then you have 40 hours of this free time, right? So his 8 hours is less than the 40 hours that you have to waste because of it. So you might as well just kick him out. And yeah, I felt guilty for a second because he came all the way out there. But as soon as I got it out and I told him how I felt, I stopped feeling guilty. I stopped feeling guilty. I didn't need to do what he wanted. I didn't have to. This is my place and my feeling in my body. And he respected it, and I love that. I think I was more afraid of him not respecting it. But I was really happy that he was a gentleman and he left the next morning. I love China. I just don't love where I'm living at right now. I love Thailand and I want to move back. But I also want to come back here because I did learn a lot here. So that's what I learned on my solo traveling. And I learned to trust myself, to love myself more, to deal with the guilt, but do it anyways, have fear, but do it anyways, and my standards more. So now I've decided I'm not dating unless like it kind of happens on its own. I'm not going to go look for it because I want to make money. So that is how I did my solo challenge, how I found myself, all the lessons I learned from each trip. So if you're there feeling guilty because you don't want to leave anybody behind because you want to like travel, but you're feeling guilty, I think you should just do it anyways. You really learn a lot. All the cultural differences had made me more tolerant and more accepting in my nature because in America we're very intolerant about people who are different from us. And when you leave the States, it makes you become more tolerant and more accepting and more open and can see that the States is not the big baddest one in the world. There are like so many other issues in the world, so many other things that are bigger than us. And I learned so much traveling, and I think that if you want to go do it, just go do it. Just go do it. So thank you for tuning in to Royally Confident. Don't forget you could join the Royally Confident Collective where women grow, heal, and choose themselves. We have workshops, meditations, journal props, and pop up coffee shops, and a free monthly complimentary one on one mentorship with me. Um, you gotta win it kind of thing. And that's if you join the Royally Confident Collective. And also, don't forget to subscribe for more stories about how I started to love myself more, trust myself more, grow more confident self in myself more, and many other things that we do talk about here, like reality checks, going over questions that are hard. So, thank you so much for coming today and watching my podcast slash YouTube channel. Yeah, it's going there. And have a blessed day or an amazing day, whatever works for you.